Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. After our first video where we covered arches and bricks, this is our second video wherein we'll be covering parts and nomenclature related to buildings. So let's start with the second topic, that is buildings. Buildings, the first term over here is a lean-to roof. Lean-to roof क्या होता है? A roof that is inclined and supported at one edge, at one side, if at all यहाँ पे मेरा एक support है, be it a wall, and my roof is supported like this on the wall, then this is called a lean to roof. If two sloping roofs meet at a center point and they are resting on two different supports, that is one sloping roof, two sloping roof, and these are two supports, then the horizontal line is called a ridge. Horizontal topmost line is called a ridge, wherein the two sloping roofs are meeting, and this triangular face between the two sloping roofs, this is called as a gable. If this surface between the two sloping roofs is not parallel or perpendicular to the ground, if the pitched roof is having the front face also inclined to the surface of the walls or the support and is not perpendicular to the walls, then this is called a hip line. Hip line. If the pitched roof is extending out from the walls, that is, if this is my pitched roof, try to recall the drawings that we used to make as children. If this is how our roof is extending out from the support, then this part of the pitched roof is called a soffit. Soffit. Okay. So our next term is edifice. Edifice. Edifice is basically a huge building, a very massive structure imposing in appearance. किसी भी बिल्डिंग के सराउंडिंग के रिस्पेक्ट में एक बहुत बड़ी बिल्डिंग जो इम्पोज करती है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एन एडिफिस. Imposing structure or massive or huge. With respect to its surrounding is called an edifice. The next term is a skyscraper. A skyscraper. A skyscraper is a building of exceptional height. Now, depending on the number of stories, we can divide the type of building in three different types. That is a low rise, a high rise, and a mid rise. Low rise, mid rise, high rise. अभी लो राइज कौन सी बिल्डिंग्स होंगी? लो राइज वो बिल्डिंग्स होंगी जो बहुत छोटी हैं, 1 और 2 स्टोरी ऑब्वियसली, जिनमें जनरली लिफ्ट्स नहीं होते, एलिवेटर्स नहीं होते. मिड राइज बिल्डिंग्स कौन सी होंगी? 5 to 10 फ्लोर्स, 5 to 10 स्टोरीज वाले बिल्डिंग्स वुड बी कॉल्ड अ मिड राइज. और हाई राइज कौन सी बिल्डिंग्स होंगी? जो बहुत ज़्यादा, जिनमें नंबर ऑफ फ्लोर्स बहुत ज़्यादा है, 10, 20, 30 फ्लोर्स वाली बिल्डिंग्स would be high rise, compulsorily having elevators. Next term is an attic. Attic is a room or a space under the roof of a building. तो generally जो attic वाला space होता है, people use it for storage. If at all this is my building, then this space that is under my roof, directly under my roof, this is called an attic. Now, if attic का space or clear height is so much so that ये space पूरा livable बन जाता है, अगर मैंने दिस इज़ माई पिच रूफ एंड मेरा फ्लोर कहीं से यहाँ से स्टार्ट हुआ है, एंड दिस इज़ माई फर्स्ट स्टोरी एंड दिस इज़ माई सेकेंड स्टोरी. देन अगर ये पूरा लिवेबल हाइट है मेरी, दोनों लिवेबल स्पेस है मेरा, then this is called a half story. This is called half story. The next term is a crawl space. Suppose this is my ground. This is where crawl story is not basement. Crawl story is just high enough जिसमें मैं crawl करके जा सकूं. Next term is a cellar. A cellar. A cellar is a room जहाँ पे आप एक्स्ट्रा फूड आइटम्स, गुड्स और ऐसा कुछ भी पैंट्री आइटम्स आप स्टोर कर सकते हो. That is called a cellar. Now again for the next term हम इंग्लिश मूवीज़ को याद करेंगे. इंग्लिश मूवीज़ में दिस क्रॉल स्टोरी. क्रॉल स्टोरी में जो जाने का वे होता है, जो एंट्रेंस होता है, द डोर इज़ समवॉट लाइक दिस, हॉरिजॉन्टल रहता है ये डोर. इफ दिस इज़ माई ग्राउंड, सो दिस डोर opens like this. Now this kind of door is called a bulkhead. A horizontal door is called a bulkhead. A bulkhead. After bulkhead comes अ ब्लाइंड स्टोरी। ब्लाइंड स्टोरी क्या होता है? एक ऐसा फ्लोर डिवीजन, एक ऐसी स्टोरी जिसमें आपके कोई भी विंडोज़ या फेनेस्ट्रेशंस नहीं है फसाड में। सपोज दिस इज़ माई बिल्डिंग। And I have my floors or my stories running like this. All of them are having windows at the same place, suppose. And this particular story is not having any fenestration or opening. It is called a blind story. A blind story. The next term is a blind. Blind क्या होता है? एक false window. Suppose इस facade में मैंने पूरे विंडोज़ का रो दे रखा है एंड समहाउ इस जगह पर मेरी विंडोज़ नहीं आ रही हैं। एक ऐसा स्पेस है जहाँ मुझे विंडो में नहीं दे सकती हूँ। सो मैं इस फसाड में इस विंडो की रिदम को कंटिन्यू करने के लिए आई विल प्लेस अ विंडो फ्रॉम द एक्सटीरियर विच इज़ नॉट हॉलो। यहाँ पे वॉल है बट स्टिल बाहर से मैंने उसे विंडो वाला ट्रीटमेंट दे रखा है। देन दिस पर्टिकुलर विंडो इज कॉल्ड अ ब्लाइंड। A blind. Next up is fenestration. Fenestrations are again any kind of openings, चाहे वो डोर्स हो सकते हैं, विंडोज हो सकते हैं, किसी भी तरह की ओपनिंग्स आर कॉल्ड fenestrations. Next up is stoop. Stoop. A stoop is a raised platform. Suppose this is your main entrance door and this is a platform that is raised. ये आपके threshold run कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर। ये मेरी थ्रेशोल्ड है और ये एक प्लेटफॉर्म है दैट लीड्स टू द एंट्रेंस ऑफ माई हाउस. देन दिस पर्टिकुलर प्लेटफॉर्म इज कॉल्ड अ stoop. A stoop. Now suppose if I place a roof above it. If I place a roof above it, इसी stoop को अगर मैंने एक roof add कर दिया, then this particular arrangement can be called as a porch. A porch. If adding a roof in the structure is if we add a roof to a stoop, it is called a porch. The next term is portico. पोर्टिको. अब मैंने इस पोर्च की जो रूफ है उसकी रूफ को मैंने कॉलम पे सपोर्ट कर दिया. If at all it is supported on columns, then this becomes a portico. I hope the difference is clear between all the three terms: stoop, porch and portico. एक stoop में मैंने अगर रूफ ऐड किया then it becomes a porch, and उस porch को मैंने columns ऐड किए then it becomes a portico. If I increase the size of the stoop, ये stoop becomes remarkably huge in size, then it becomes a veranda. A bigger stoop is called a veranda. A bigger stoop is called a veranda. अब इसी veranda में if I add furnitures, if at all veranda में if I'm adding a furniture, like a lot of furniture, and I'm using it as a living space, then it becomes a lanai. A lanai. Veranda plus furnitures. And if I'm using it as a living room, it is becoming a lanai. The next term is colonnade. Colonnade is basically a series of regularly spaced columns. मैंने बहुत सारे columns को regularly space करा. Then this becomes a colonnade. ये basically mostly एक entablature को support करता है. Entablature again we'll discuss in Roman history. हम डिटेल में एंटैब्लेचर को रोमन हिस्ट्री में डिस्कस करेंगे. बट द एंटैब्लेचर इज यूजुअली सपोर्टेड ऑन वन साइड ऑफ द रूफ एंड द स्ट्रक्चर इज कॉल्ड colonnade. The next term is forecourt. Forecourt. A forecourt is basically a court before the entrance to a building. If this is my building and I have a court in front of it, then this is called a forecourt. The next term is portal. Portal. Now what is a portal? किसी भी बिल्डिंग का एक ह्यूमंगस एंट्रेंस, बहुत ऑर्नामेंटेड और एम्फसाइजिंग सा एंट्रेंस is called a portal. Huge or imposing entrance gate. This is called a portal. Portal. Next up is plazo or palazzo. Palazzo क्या होता है? Is a very prominent building, important public imposing building. Next up is gazebo. Gazebo. Gazebo is a freestanding structure. Freestanding roofed structure, I should correct myself. Roofed structure. This structure is not attached to a building. This is a freestanding structure. This is a roofed structure and it is open from all sides. You can note it down in bullet points. Open from all sides. Now the next term is topiary. Topiary. Topiary topiary is basically trimmed or clipped plants into ornamental patterns. अगर मैं कोई भी plants को ornamental pattern में clip या trim करके present करूँ तो I can call it topiary. The next term is gallery. It is basically a spacious promenade या court या mall जिसके vaulted roof हो. Vaulted roof. And this is continuing, and this has a lot of shops. This is called a gallery or galleria. The next or the last term for this topic is alley. An alley is a broad pathway or a walkway जिसके दोनों sides में trees होते हैं. Suppose this is my pathway and I have trees on both the sides. This is called an alley. An alley. Our next video will be about churches, history of church, a church structure, उसके plan, उसका plan के parts and उसके ornamental parts. So stay tuned for our next video.